Welcome to Universal Journey Talk, spreading positive energy. I'm Kirk with my brother Eric, the Allegorist.
Going on.
What's going on, buddy?
Good.
Nice, nice. So basically, we were trying to figure out the next thing we're gonna talk about, and we think, what about aliens? Definitely is, I think it's time we kind of get into that a little bit. One of the things I was just so I'm trying to figure this out now. We've got. I'm sure you're going to come up with other ones. So here's all the ones that I've looked into: the Greys, which most people know. The smaller bodies, the big heads, the big eyes. The Palladians, the Arcadians, and the Draconians. I believe those are like the most races that I kind of know of. Do you know of any other ones?
Like Artorian. Um, uh, I know
Aren't there? What?
we're missing a crap load more, but
Yeah,
just off the head.
yeah. That's all I kind of really know. But I know the Draconians for the most part. Now they're the more like the lizard type, correct?
Yeah, reptilians.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And we've seen like through different things on YouTube and whatever. They even point out different celebrities that they think are draconian, heritage or blood or whatever. So it's interesting because they're like almost like shape shifting abilities, or they can mimic human stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think. Okay. But so anyway, I was thinking about this. It's interesting though how depending on sometimes how you phrase things changes what people think about aliens. Meaning, I have a friend of mine who I hadn't seen in like a year or two or something. He's in my religion, and our religion kind of doesn't really teach that much about believing in aliens, that much. So I even think I even go as far as to think that they don't really believe that there are aliens. But
They don't get into it.
yeah, not really.
It's not that they don't. They just say the
Yeah,
Bible doesn't mention it, so they're like, it's just maybe, maybe not.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. It
no
is. It's just more something where when they talk about aliens, a lot of people go like who cares? But anyway, so here's my point.
But when
So
you say your religion, I think people may get it mistaken that you're still in it, or are you saying as in reference of the path?
well, I'm still a member of the religion, so I just say my
Oh,
religion.
okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so I found that. So basically, we went out to dinner and we were all just like talking and stuff. Me and my wife, him, and others, and we got into the alien thing. And I remember I was just kind of like saying to him, I was like, "Hey, so do you believe in aliens?" And he's a pretty smart guy and stuff and everything. And he goes, he's like, well, nah, like, I mean, and he kind of did it in the way where it's oh yeah, aliens, yeah, we all know about alien stuff. And he was kind of like, nah, I don't really, believe in aliens. I don't believe that stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, because I was like, I kind of do, And he was like, oh, really, whatever. And I was like, well, then I rephrased it. I was like, well, I mean like this. In the entire universe. Here it is. We're just in our solar system.
Yeah.
We've got our solar system. We've got the galaxy. We've got the entire universe of other planets and everything out there. You don't. I mean, you would. Do you think that there's not any other life forms out there at all? And then he goes, oh yeah, yeah, no, there's definitely other life forms. And then I go, well then you believe. Then you believe in aliens. And he goes, well, yeah, but not like aliens like they kind of say. And I was like, well, exactly. I was like, but that's okay. But I was just saying, like, but you do actually, in other words, any other life form. Now, I'm not talking about how intelligent it is. Maybe there, I mean, there's all different levels. But either way, or how big or how small, if it's life and it comes from outside of our atmosphere, and it's alien, and then he was like, yeah, okay, and now he's on board.
But but like, why would I mean? I find it very interesting that, like, I understand people still think aliens don't exist, or there's no like intelligence, or at least to our to our level of intelligence. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
I find that very hard because unless people think that the universe is actually relatively like really small, and it only like consists of maybe like the 9 planets and that's it, which even then it's still big. But we're not. I'm not talking like just in our solar system alone, where we got how many other planets that we don't even know of. Then on top of out of our solar system, in our galaxy, the Milky Way, which is only a rather small Milky Way or dwarf Milky Way compared to the other billions of Milky Ways out there, or galaxies, which are way bigger than ours. And then you have super galaxies that have millions of galaxies within it. So I mean, it to me, it's just like to really go, well, I think there's alien life out there, but nothing to our intelligence. I would be like, well, yeah, maybe not our intelligence. Like, I'm sure it's way beyond our intelligence. You know what I mean? Like, well, like, I just understand how humans think we're just we plateaued. We're the epitome of intelligence. When really, yeah, we're pretty smart, but we're not. I mean, we could be a lot smarter. Especially like I mean, think of Einstein uses 15% of his brain. You know, your average human uses 10 to 12%. So that 3% or 5% makes all that difference. You know what I mean? It shows you how more capable we are. And beyond that, why wouldn't there be other life forms with this that are just as capable or have even intelligence far beyond us? I just find that hard to believe, like that people just think we're the end all be all, and that's just interesting.
And to go along with that, now this is once again, I guess clearly we're going to go into territory that many people might disagree with or agree with, but one of my simple things that really stuck with me is the other aliens that I forgot to mention are Anunnaki.
Oh yeah.
Now, yep. Okay. So for those that don't know much about the Anunnaki, thing, I'm going to go through a really quick history thing of it, whatever. So basically, the concept is that the Sumerian texts, which are thousands and thousands of years old than many of the scriptures that are in the Bible, kind of explain things that are in the Bible. And essentially, the Bible in a lot of ways is the abbreviation of much bigger events that happened and that are explained in much greater detail through the Sumerian text. So that's all stuff you guys can research. You look up Zecharia Sitchin. He's the one that actually I think broke down and was able to translate all this this language and everything. He died some years back, but he made a lot of books about this. But anyway, so basically the idea is that thousands and thousands of years ago, before there were actual humans, there were other extremely intelligent beings that came from another planet. They came here to our planet. And then part of the things that they use is monatomic gold, which they were mining our planet for, because monatomic gold, if you take it in a certain way, it's in like elixir type way or something that we don't know how to do it. It substantially increases the mental capacities of your brain, including other things like clairvoyance and all other abilities and stuff. You can read up all about it. It's something that even humans can ingest, and actually they did back in the day, effectively, to have much more abilities. So it changes your DNA. Okay, it changes your DNA, everything, or enhances, I should say, rather. But there's certain ways to do it. We don't fully know how to do it, but we're getting there. Basically, the humans way back then were actually, as science points out, they weren't human. They were Cro-Magnon, a Neanderthal, whatever it was, and then they came here and then they spliced a small portion of their DNA with ours to then create is what we now know as humans. Okay, and basically they did it to have a slave species to do all the work that they didn't want to do. That's why they basically created us. There's many different stories and reasons, but that's primarily the basic understanding. Now, kind of to jump back a little bit. Now, sometimes a lot of people are like, well, that sounds far-fetched and this and that. And it's like, okay, well, you can believe whatever you want. But here's the thing. If you kind of even thinking about a little bit of the timeline, so we have, I mean, for most people, if you believe that there were dinosaurs, that was how many millions of years ago that's been, dated? That's millions of years ago. Now, the human race has only been here for however many thousands of years. Like, I think it's maybe been as much as about 100,000 years, they say, or something like that. So if we only go back even 100,000 years, and then
I think they see like 300,000.
Okay, 300,000. Okay, that's okay, but that's nothing compared to even 1 million years. So in between the time when the dinosaurs died off and where we now know where humans, continue from there, there's this huge gap of possibly, millions, hundreds of thousands or millions of years in between that and that. So what I'm saying is that if you believe in that there could be other, intelligent life forms, it would only make sense that with all this barren time of no like higher dominant species like humans, that there could have been a whole other time of a whole other civilization in between from the dinosaurs to where humans came in, where entire civilizations grew and then died off and over and over again. We don't but these tablets and everything are the records of what actually kind of happened. Now, just to kind of finish this kind of point off is just that now I know some people are like, yeah, but what if they're just like science fiction stories? Okay, that would be a good point because I used to think about that myself too. But here's the main thing that really makes me believe in that the Anunnaki were real. Is, well, for one thing, we have the pyramids, which is pretty much talked about too in the Sumerian text. We don't know how to do it with our technology today, based off of what they did, but they're here, and they're saying they're the ones that made it. They also use humans to do it, but it's their technology, it was their abilities, their mental capacity that were able to do these things. Number two, and which is the most important thing to me, which is that in the actual Sumerian text, they show hieroglyphics of many different things that they did and stuff. There's one, maybe two, that actually show where they drew out the solar system. Okay, this shows the sun and it shows the different planets in our solar system to scale all around the sun. Okay, and they count the way that they count the planets are from outside of the solar system coming in. Like we always talk about Earth being called the third planet because it's third from the sun. Well, they count it the opposite way because they came from outside of our solar system coming in. Now, my question is this: from tablets that are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years old, how could they know that there was even a solar system? How could they know that there were stars, that there's a sun? How could they know any of those things? This was stuff that was only learned, from what our human records show in just the past few hundred years, that we kind of started realizing that there's space and stars and what they are and everything. They knew this stuff hundreds of thousands of years ago when they didn't even know that space existed. So my question is, how did they get that information? Someone had to be out there in space, So right there, that the fact that the information is in something that's ancient, hundreds of thousands of years old, to me is pretty compelling evidence that we've had extraterrestrial beings on this planet that gave us knowledge, and now a lot of it's lost because it's so long ago. I mean, half the stuff is just, it just eroded. It's gone.
A lot of the knowledge is also lost, too, because a lot of ancient knowledge is, just the Egyptians along with many others. The Mayans and there's a lot of ancient knowledge that goes into all this about the stars and everything. Because to me, like, pure knowledge is basically it comes from astrology. That's that to me is the best known knowledge I think man could have. I think it explains everything. You know what I mean? I think everything's based off astrology. Even if you go to the Bible, people don't understand. Like you could go the 12 disciples. The 12 disciples still represents the 12 Zodiac. You know what I mean? Or the constellation. The 12 disciple. If you walk in a room with 12 people, the chance of being in a room and all 12 are a different Zodiac sign, you know? So even if you look at that, the 12 disciples, they represent the 12 Zodiac, you know, the 12 age.
I heard about that. Right.
And so that's why a lot of times with the Bible, I'm not saying you can take it literally, but you want to also understand it allegorically as well. It's good to understand the Bible, you know, not just literally, but allegorically, you know, so you can really get a wider range of understanding from it if you're gonna, especially or any of these ancient books. You know what I mean?
Right.
So astrology is like really, I think it goes back so far, so ancient, and to me, it goes further than 300,000 years ago. You know what I mean? And we know, like with all these, what we're coming to find out that there's civilizations that have been here a lot longer than what we think, and than what science has even shown. You know, today.
Yeah. I would even have to say, I mean, it seems to me like, okay, well, for instance, they even say that there's a lot of talk about the dark side of the moon, and that, you know, we can never see the dark side of the moon, if I'm correct. So there's a lot of talk that there's probably, it would make a lot of sense if the aliens of whatever form they are, whichever types, want to still do business with humans or with the governments or whatever it is, to stay on the dark side of the moon, that they could have a whole civilization on the dark side of the moon and we would never know it because we'll never see it.
Well,
you know,
that is a theory. There's technically also a theory that I mean, you know, there's, you know, you do your research, but there's also technically they say the Nazis have bases on Mars, and that Hitler just went to Mars, you know, and
there's movies about that, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of theories and things that definitely worth checking out too.
Yeah.
Because when you do, and you stay open minded, there are a lot of things that, as crazy as they sound, sometimes you can start putting things together. You know what I mean? And through time, you may look at one theory as, oh, you know, that's crazy or whatever, but then later on it comes back, actually that kind of ties into something else I was doing, you know, or I was doing research in, or somehow, and then it starts, you know, the pieces all start making sense and coming together, you know.
Yeah.
Like a jigsaw puzzle. You start realizing, hey, fact is stranger than fiction. So
yeah.
Start really realizing this planet, this solar system, it's a lot more weirder and strange than you could ever think. And I think a lot of times we can just be so closed-minded and only going by just simple, you know, like media and the things that we learn. But it's like knowledge that we get on a regular basis that's just given to the public and from your school. It's so basic, fundamental stuff. So it's basically elementary. It would be like if you were an alien that speaks telepathy, you know, through camera rays or whatever, coming here to have a conversation with us when we're just speaking primitive words, you know? So if you think, like, if an alien came down here and it was like, hey, take me to your leader, and you're like, I'm sorry, what? And you'd be like, yeah, I mean, they'd probably come down and be like,
right, I get you.
Excuse me? And the whole time they're like, take me to your leader. And you're like, oh, can you take me to your leader? You know, I mean, because we haven't even got to that level of understanding telepathy or, you know, like, a whale can communicate with another whale from over like 200 miles away. I mean, like 200 miles away. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So what does that even mean to us? You know what I mean? We wouldn't even understand that. So we got a lot of work to do when it really comes to really expanding our conscious and our way of thinking, and expanding our mind, and really understanding that what we, as intelligent as we are, but we still have a lot more to expand and really take things to another level as we evolve consciously.
Yeah. Well, I do think that it's just probably like it's very easy for us to stick to the obvious, which is what we observe and what we don't observe. Because I know even for myself, I think like, this whole new experience that I've, come into where, like I said, for a long time, I more just went by whatever our, spiritual leaders or religious leaders told us. Pretty much I just felt, well, then that's what it is. And that's how life is. And that's how things are. I didn't really, consider anything else, but because I only stuck to one path. And a lot of it also was, and I guess I still struggle with this now, which is, the things that we can't see versus the things that we can see. And I do prefer when science, officially certifies something compared to theories and things like that. But, there is the intangibles that we have to be able to still be open-minded to and consider to be real. Like, like I've always heard the analogy, like, well, you can't see the wind, but you can feel it. Good point, and then it's the same thing with other things, radio waves, infrared.
Chakras.
I
mean, can you see a chakra? I mean,
right.
Some people can, but
right.
You? I mean, that doesn't mean it's not there.
Right. So now, it's up to you to have. Wait, hold on. Sorry about that. I think my electrical thing's starting to go out on me a little bit here. Is that there's so there's a certain point where you just have to still be open to realistic possibilities. So I think there's something which it seems that the human race has always had this issue with, which is that we feel, because we're at the top of the food chain, we feel that we're so much higher than all the other things around us, that's why, like in the Bible and stuff, or whatever, like I feel that humans think that we're something more special than everything else, than everything. Now, yes, you could say, as far as what we've accomplished, yes, we are. But once again, it's almost like as if we feel like we're the center of the universe. And maybe even things, in the Bible kind of indicate that, where it's like we are the sons of God, even like more so than any other species. Like we have our own right that is directly connected to God and stuff, the way that the Bible kind of words things and stuff. And, whatever. And that we will, depending on your belief, upon dying, you go to heaven to be with God and all this, and these other things. So, in other words, it seems like there's a lot of ego in the general consciousness of, humans, where we can't imagine that just because we can't see it, we can't see something out, even though we know that there's a vast, universe out there. Just because we basically can't see it. That's what it comes down to. We can't see it, so then we go, there must be nothing else out there. We're at the top. A lot of people, and also because of their religious backgrounds and stuff, they kind of think that, well, God only mentions us in the Bible, so it must be, if there were other creatures out there or something, surely they'd be mentioned in the Bible. And that's where I kind of feel like, no, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, really, the Bible, it only just talks about us. Why? Because we're the ones that are here, that are pretty much running things, So it I mean, it may indicate some other things, whatever. Now, I don't know if you look at it allegorically, if that's different now, you know what I mean? But as far as goes, our general consensus is, we only are concerned with ourselves because we are the only ones here so far that we've ever known of.
Could we say the Bible is basically a manual on
Right.
how to live, instructions on how to live life on Earth?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So I don't know why we really need to really involve too many other aliens. And in other ways, you also have to look out when you look at the human species and all the genes. Like, as you know, like theories go deeper in that. Well, who's to say that us humans aren't already aliens to begin with?
Well, perspectively wise, we are aliens to anyone else. Clear, any other intelligent life.
A lot of ego comes into play, especially like when this God said man was made in the image of man was made in his image.
Right.
And it depends on how people want to take that. I think a lot of times people take too much like God's a human being, and want to relate like, oh, so God, he said made us in his image, so like not like we look like him, And some will say, like the gods or could be like Annuaki, you know what I mean? Saying we're made in their image. Or you can look at it this way. If we're talking God as in, the Almighty, Supreme Being, in a sense, when he was saying humans are made in his image, meaning what separates humans that makes us not necessarily special, but unique, is that compared to all the animals and plants, that why we're made in God's image, meaning that for those that understand us being co-creators to God, and a co-creator, what would that power be? We would have the power of like say the laws of attraction, to create. And I think that's, if we're going to look at it in that way, what separates us from the plants and the animals, which makes us more unique in that sense. But it doesn't mean we're not. It's not like that they're not equal, or what I mean, or that we're better.
Yeah. Now,
in the end, we're all God. We're all connected. Like God, God would be the substance in everything. You know what I mean? Living or as non-living. But we're all connected. Everything comes from God. Source is in everything. In
right.
a rock. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Now, another thing I was just thinking about though is regarding aliens. Now, a lot of people say they're here, they're among us, and things like that. Here's some of the things that I think are my line of reasoning so far is that I do believe that there have been alien encounters of whatever different types, of different aliens that have been here, through the ancient times to relatively, recent times or whatever. But I would have to assume that when we were, let's say, more primitive, and I'm not even talking like, Cro-Magnon or Neanderthal type. I'm just saying like when we were just, like thousands of years back and we didn't have as much technology like we do now. Before like big industry, electricity, nuclear, weaponry and stuff like that, our ability to now like put things out in space. I think that maybe there were more, extraterrestrial interactions that I actually think affected the Bible. I think a lot of the things that are in the Bible are actually misinterpretations of alien, encounters, extraterrestrial of whatever types.
Like Enoch, Book of Enoch, you're going into.
Book of Enoch, a little bit of that. Actually, I wasn't going into that, but you can feel free. But I was just going to say though that so that happened. But now I do believe that we are at a technological level now, where we do have nuclear capabilities and stuff, and this stuff is like it's no joke because from what I read, at least in the Sumerian text, that that's what the Anunnaki and other alien forms or extraterrestrials were using back then. Doesn't say anything much more powerful than that. So, in other words, what I'm saying is we're at a level now where essentially it would be problematic and much harder for an alien race just to show up. In other words, what I'm saying is, and there's billions and billions of us now compared to thousands and thousands of years ago when our population was a lot less. So there's so many more of us, including with our technological abilities. I believe that this is what I believe. I believe if there is going to be some, it's there's like a general feeling where most people are kind of getting the feeling like aliens are going to come around soon. Like, we don't know if it's going to be in our lifetime. Could be, could not, but it just seems like we're on the verge of this or something. But what I'm saying is, I think that they actually have to be careful now because we are, we've, now, like I said, with our technological abilities, we can fight them back pretty effectively. Now, that's I'm just making that a jump in the air because we don't know. Maybe they'll have technologies that could just wipe us out in a day.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
I don't know. I don't know. But I just find it interesting that because if they could, then why don't they? You see what I'm saying?
But why would they have to?
Well,
why would they want to right now?
Well, for instance, because
they're watching us through a process of evolving. The idea is not to intervene.
But they already did. As far as goes the Sumerian texts, they not only intervened, they actually genetically changed us. So they did a lot of intervening. I mean, they came in and literally changed our evolutionary, track and did whatever they did for their personal means. So what I'm saying is they certainly landed. They certainly did. They were certainly involved a lot. And so they weren't just hiding out in the background. And I believe it was because there was nothing that we could do about it. We were so, we were just, very, primitive. So they were gods to us. Now,
I think
it's a little different. What's that?
I think people go, well, if they made us, why aren't they here? Why don't they come back? Like, that'd be like, kind of, when people are like, well, I believe God exists, or they believe in a sense that God's like a man, or he's up in the clouds and he just sits up there and just judges us all day. Like, to me, that's so elementary that it's almost like you think the almighty supreme being that created this planet and the universe, and he just sits in clouds and he just watches what we're doing all day. That would be the most pathetic thing that any god could ever do. That would actually be that'd be a shame to think that's God and that'd be like a part-time job. He just sits in clouds and he judges people. To me, that's like the same thing with aliens. Like if they spliced our DNA and did whatever they did, and I believe that there's truth to all that. But if they've been here thousands and thousands of years doing this for human beings, then when they leave, why would they come rushing back? Like they're not so linear like we are. So they could be gone for 300,000 years, and that's really not that long. They were gone, as far as I can say, they only been gone maybe for a few months because they already got us set up and been here for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of hundreds and thousands of years. You know what I mean? Or longer. So to be like, oh, because in the past 60, 50, 40, 30 years that each human being is that been on this planet and in their little lifetime, think that aliens should come down within their lifetime, or they should have look. I mean, our country isn't even older than really 300 years. It's not that old. So it's like. First, I believe, regardless, aliens are already here. They've been working with governments and things. Like, this isn't anything new to many other, theories or you want to look at it, astronaut theories. But going ahead, you could see, even all right, what was it, a couple months ago? Was it the Israeli general, or one of them, like before he died or whatever, was on his deathbed or something like that. I'm not sure. Can't remember the whole story. But he admitted that there's aliens. They've been working with the government for years, and that there were bases on Mars, on the moon. And my thing is, this guy, like these guys are, they're credible people. You know what I mean? That to just go on and say things that that are just bizarre and just to ruin their reputation. Like, what would they even get out of that? You know what I mean? And this goes on. You got one of the greatest Air Force pilots, Byrd. I'm trying to think, what's his name? Was it Dennis Byrd? But
no idea.
Yeah. Well, anyway, but highly respected, like the greatest pilot ever. And he was saying how he flew into the center of the Earth, or like Antarctica, and it's a big story.
Yeah, I heard about that. Right, a little bit.
And he was saying how there's continents the size of North America and beyond. Like, there's so much things that, like, to say that everybody's just making something up. Or my thing would even be like Area 51. To say like aliens came down. All right, when they said originally the Air Force they made their well, after that crash, they said that yes, they were aliens, and then like 4 days later, they changed that and like, oh no, you know what I mean? Retract that statement and said it was like a balloon or some experiment, test and doing. Now sometimes, and then and even then, this is what I'm saying. Like, okay, fine. After they retracted, like, why would what if it wasn't aliens? Why would that be the first thing you say it wasn't? And then 4 days later go, oh, wait, we realized it wasn't. Like, it took you that long to figure out if that's an alien or it was some balloons that you were experimenting before. To me, that's just common sense. You know what I mean? Like, or how stupid do you think the public would be? But then, don't get me wrong, sometimes the public really can be really, really stupid. And I'm not saying how they do get this off, because people will still say, oh, I doubt it, But my thing is, well, check this out. After that supposed crash in Area 51 that supposedly meant nothing, right? It was just experiments they were doing, whatever, with the balloons or whatever. Why is it anyone that's like within like 6, 7, 8 miles of that place? Now it's like, I mean, it's just you are not to go anywhere near that place. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's interesting. Up until then, Area 51 wasn't even anything. No one was even thinking of that place. Now, the minute after that crash, now there's military in and out of there. And theories, they say that they work with the aliens now. That's why we got most of our technology in the first place. That's what when they were talking about Hitler. Hitler was getting all his and searching for so much ancient artifacts and things. He was looking for the Ark, the Holy Grail, anything to gain an advantage. And his technology was state of the art.
Yeah. And, well, I definitely think that the Area 51 thing to me is still a very a very strange thing, because I do kind of agree where it's like no one can kind of get in there. Like I don't know enough about it. Like
you're within a few miles.
Yeah. So I do agree. Like, I mean, now granted, they're not just going to let they're not just going to let anyone just walk right in, just for any reason, because that's like in any military. There's certain places that are considered top secret and all this other stuff. There are top secret places. So I mean, I guess you have to.
But why after that crash, all of a sudden, not only did it go top secret, they didn't want you anywhere near it.
Yeah. I mean, hey, look.
That would be weird.
That's why I'm certainly not gonna argue you on it. I guess it clearly there's definitely some things to look into. My thing is, it's almost kind of like I get the fact that it's like, yeah, you know what, it is strange that I guess since then they've been like really trying to make it harder to even be around there. But what's your position though as far as goes? Because my position is still I think that they aliens or extraterrestrials, whatever they are, did come here thousands of years ago. in a blatant way, not just like, oh, they're like in the background and they're just like doing things behind the scenes. I'm talking they straight up landed here, as the Samaritan text talks about. They started civilizations. I mean, full blown out, not invasion, but they simply landed here. So what I'm saying is if they were that overt, if they were straight up blatantly coming down and doing what they did, I believe the reason why is because we had no way of defending ourselves or doing anything. We were in total shock and awe and considered them to be gods. In fact, I think they were some of the gods that are mentioned in Greek mythology and in the Bible in different ways, however you want to look at it and stuff. So what I'm saying is I find it strange that they were so overt and straight up built civilizations here. And yet now, for thousands of years, they're just hiding in the background. And I think the reason why they're hiding in the background is because we're too technologically advanced now. They can't just come right on in. I really think so. Because my question is, why don't they then? Why not?
I'm saying, everybody always thinks like there's always got to be some invasion of aliens. But I'm saying
that wasn't an invasion.
I'm saying when the Anunnaki left, because remember, they made us to help as slaves to help mine gold,
right?
Because they need that gold to fix their atmosphere from where they're from, their planet,
right?
Nibiru, whatever.
And they also use it for the mental capacities and every other thing. Yeah.
So, they weren't this wasn't like their last stop. I mean, there's so many theories that that us humans, we are alien. We are the alien. In many different kinds in us. We're like a hybrid, you know what I mean? Of not just Anunnaki, but of reptilian. And just like, remember that 80s movie, or that show, V?
Yeah.
It was like, when the lizard people,
that was cool. Yeah.
That's really basically a knockoff of reptilians, which
Draconian.
Majority of conspiracy theories, or theories, many people believe like reptilians are or many of the the royal families and are part of a lot of the elite groups, or Queen Elizabeth is a reptilian, and it goes into all these other stories and theories and how Princess Diana died. You can look up on all these things. I mean, there's a lot of information out there that look into it. I mean, but I don't always think it's always about worrying about an invasion of aliens always coming in. I think aliens, many of them just never left. Many of the aliens, they came us. We are the aliens. We're hybrids. Even like the reptilian part of us from when we're born. Like when you see as a little fetus, or we're reptilian. You know what I mean? And that's where we get our fight or flight from. And that's the reptilian part of the brain. And then it goes on to many other, but we have we're a hybrid species of not just one type of alien, but actually many.
All right,
and that they live among us, and it's just you gotta it's kind of hard to explain. It's a lot.
Okay, so I get you. So all right, so basically, maybe the way I'm just explaining it is different from the way you're interpreting it. What I'm saying is that
unless you're going to go into the center of the earth, there's aliens also, or beings that live in the center of the earth and other parts that we don't even we would it's a lot to delve in.
All right. Well, what I'm saying is that in other words, what I'm grasping from you is that you're saying that, in other words, you're almost kind of saying like, oh, everyone's afraid of an invasion or something like that. I'm not even saying an invasion per se, because if you think about it, they didn't invade us, way back then. As far as goes the Anunnaki, and as far as goes and as far as goes human history, we don't know of any actual invasion, and no extraterrestrial invasion has ever happened that we have recorded as far as goes human history has acknowledged. So what I'm saying is that everyone's kind of afraid of an invasion because that's what movies do and stuff. Now, I mean, it could happen if it were, but
Mars.
But what I'm saying is that my simple point is that um, just overtly, if they came here and made themselves known, it wasn't like they weren't trying to hide. A lot of people are constantly saying how, oh well, they're hiding amongst us and everything like that, and I'm like, you know, but I just kind of find it. So if they are hiding amongst us, okay, that's fine too. I'm just saying, I just do think that maybe the reason why it's hard for us to know whether there actually are aliens or aren't aliens, especially if they are living amongst us, is because I find it interesting that they need to hide now, where before they didn't need to hide. That's what I kind of find interesting. You see what I'm saying? Because before they would just land and do whatever they wanted. Now they can't land so easily. So that, in other words, in a way, it makes me feel a little bit more secure with how, powerful, you could say, humanity has become, because now they can't just come right down and just do whatever they want overtly. Now they kind of got to sneak around a little bit if they are really amongst us. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand too. To a degree. I just like if you were talking to like an alien, and in a lot of ways, if you're like, well, why don't you guys just come down, or the ones that are already out here, like I think many of them are like, well, we actually do. But if you mean just like come down and introduce ourselves to you and let everybody know,
Why not?
they would be like, no, and I do believe they call disclosure, or there's going to be this full disclosure at some point. But right now, I think the aliens are kind of like, the truth is, right now, you guys, you're just not ready. like you guys may think you're ready, but actually, it may cause a lot more problems. Because if you look at the public and just the way people are so like stuck where we're like it would change their belief systems or religious, and they just wouldn't understand it in many ways, and that like it's not that they're not, or that they're not gonna reveal themselves, but it's like they're like, what's the rush right now? You know what I mean? Like, but like reveal themselves to a race that obviously it just has still a lot of work to do. You know what I mean? And like they they have their reasons in many ways, where it's just right now not to intervene until it's really time to intervene, which in many ways it's not like they haven't already. It's just if we're waiting for them to come down in a ship and start saying to everybody, we come in peace, and like we're gonna start. Just not right now.
All right, hey, you know what?
There's a lot of good reasons for that. Like I can understand when they're like, because you guys just aren't ready. It's kind of like imminent. You're not ready. You can look around. You can see like, I mean, if an alien came down and was like, I come in peace. You don't know the way people act. They could just start shooting or do whatever. Like they just, we're just we still got a lot of evolving to do. And the thing is, it's not like who's saying that they're not going to be coming anytime soon. Everybody thinks, if they exist, they have to come right now. They have to come right now. It's like most people wouldn't even understand what a third eye is, let alone be ready for an intelligent human species, alien species that's probably way more advanced than we are, even close. That what I mean? That like again, probably could barely even speak any primitive language. It'd be more telepathy. We just wouldn't. We're just not there. And like I said, it is, and it doesn't mean maybe 5 years from now, maybe or maybe not. But it's not like it's something that it's not like it's never gonna happen. It is like, I don't what's the rush? I mean, if somebody said, if the aliens were like, well, let's be real, you guys seen how many sightings of us already, and so was that imminent, or you guys humans just believe they're all fake sightings and wouldn't even understand that? You know what I mean? But like by now, with all the sightings and these things, where it'd almost be kind of hard to say how is there not aliens? You know what I mean? But
Well,
We
so here's my question. Yeah, if you're almost saying, well, then yeah, how is there not aliens? Then my thing is, I actually I believe that humans are well equipped to adapt and adjust. That's what we've done all throughout the millennia to
yeah.
survive. And I think that, when aliens come, yeah, some people are going to freak out, but for the most part, what are you going to do? Like start shooting up in the air? That's not going to do anything. You know what I mean? Like, so really, when you kind of think about it, and then like you were saying, like, oh, but it would change people's religious beliefs and stuff. I don't really think so, and here's why. Because let's say they, did overtly just start landing here, and whatever. Um, like, how would it change people's belief in God? They'd be like, I mean, like just because there's aliens doesn't mean that there's no God. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
So that wouldn't be too much of an issue. They would just say, oh, okay, well, God also made extraterrestrials, so it wouldn't really change like anyone's beliefs. Really, I don't see how aliens changes any of that. So to me, it's just, if anything, all it just simply answers is, are we alone in the universe or are we not alone in the universe? And how we can maybe learn new technologies if they're willing to share. Which, by the way, I think once again, kind of like you mentioned. Let's say, okay, some people try to shoot him and stuff like that. Once again,
well,
that does
look at the government does.
that does
Big
warrant.
government.
So that does kind of warrant once again that um, that they have to be worried about our technology, worried that they can get killed by us, which once again kind of points back to what I'm saying is why maybe they're not so overt. Maybe they are a little more secretive because they are afraid of our technology being able to
I
kill
think
them.
they're afraid of our
Or,
technology.
well, I'm just saying, based off of what you just said, they might be worried that they're going to get shot. So I'm saying that does kind of
Yeah,
warrant what I'm saying. But
I
but
think anybody would. I don't
but
think
the
anyone
bottom
wants to get
line,
shot at.
well, I'm just saying. So the bottom line is, look, of course, if they are amongst us or whatever that is, clearly they have the reasons not for being seen or something. I personally think that that's the only thing that gives me a degree of doubt with how much they're actually interacting with us, because I kind of feel like, why do you have to do it secretively when you can just do it straight up overtly? This way we can all start to learn from each other. And, and I know how you're saying, oh, well, we're not ready for it. Okay, but if we weren't ready for it, then why were we apparently ready thousands and thousands of years ago when they came and lived amongst us? We were apparently ready for them then. Like we went. So we're going backwards. I think we've gone forward. I think we're so much more
You think humanity?
civilized compared to the primitive ways that we used to live back in the day. I mean, we were, all of our, our rules and things, the way that we did things were so much more primitive. Now, I think we've come a lot of ways in our societies. So I think at least we're a lot more civilized, and
I
we'd be
don't think
way
so.
more adapt to being able to accept them, as well as the fact that, like you were mentioning, there's so much, like sightings and all this stuff that it's almost like, why wouldn't you believe? So in other words, I don't think it would be that shocking if aliens land. I think it would just be like, okay, how do we deal with this? And then we just start to
I
create a new paradigm.
I think human beings were way more connected to closer to source and understanding nature and things way back in ancient time. I think man has lost all that. I think man is actually only run by ego, and and everything's just war. Just warmongers. Like even like when we said, do you know how many times or like when there's been alien sightings and the government automatically sending their airplanes out and they be shooting at them. The minute you come in within radar, this is not a planet that aliens can come just come visit. It's not that type of planet. You're actually not allowed to. You know what I mean? You come here, you're gonna get shot at. It's not a friendly planet like. And human beings now have lost way more of their intuitive or that that bond to just nature, or conscious contact to to source and to being or in to love. You know what I mean? It's like this world has gotten very violent. I don't think we're more what's the word you said?
Civil?
What'd you say?
Civil or
Civil? Yeah, we're more civil now. I'm like, I don't know about that. I I think that that depends. Like what is our definition of being civil, really? You know what I mean? I think we're very dumbed down. I think we're a species that's been dumbed down more than probably than 3,000 years ago, 300,000 years ago. I think the reason why they were able to do things that were so big and build pyramids and things is people were just more on board and can communicate so much better. I think after when you use stories like the Tower of Babylon, people started splitting up. You can see that I just think communication levels and everything went horrible, and we're at a point where really we're having a hard time really even keeping our planet safe. Like we're on the verge of destroying. So I don't see us being civilized in any way, and came not if we're going by we came a long way as far as technology, maybe, but not even. I think there's technology that's still way that would far exceed what we have now, and but I think our egos have totally came a long way.
Well, I mean, I definitely agree that our ego certainly is still. I agree. Yeah, ego is a big thing because clearly, that takes our connection further away from source, whatever. But I don't know. I guess that's just something where we're just gonna have to agree to disagree because when I look at the rights that even people have today compared to what they had back in the day, women were always second class in almost every other century before us. Including hold on, take a note, including just general rights. I mean, if we look at, I don't know, just how people were treated, I don't know, if someone had ailments and stuff, they could be well, we see how black people were treated for so long. And then just even past that, it's almost like, I mean, the rights that people have now, I think on a civil level are way better than the way people were treated back in you look at medieval times and stuff, and the peasants were treated like crap. That's why the average lifespan was only about to mid 30s or early 40s and stuff because life was so terrible. So including, I mean, also on a whatever level of trying to be more healthy. Now, granted, there was a long time ago where we had all healthy foods. Now we don't have as much healthy foods. But I think the lifespans of humans clearly is way longer than it has been all through the past. But I don't know. But okay, now granted, I'm an American. Well, listen, I'm just saying. Look, I'm an American, so I understand that Americans in a lot of ways have more rights than maybe other third world countries and things like that. So I'm coming from my perspective. But even overall, there's a lot of things where it's people in general didn't have rights. Because back in those days, the old days, whatever, it's you had kings and queens, and everyone was just like a peasant, and they got treated really, really bad. There wasn't health care and all this other stuff. So I think are still on a civilized level, even if you look at things that even in the Bible that Jesus said, which was so ahead of his time. A lot of the things that he said back then, which is oh, forgive a person and all this other stuff, that's great, because now it's for stuff that they can hang you for and whip you in the streets for. You could be hung in the streets, you could be tarred and feathered in the streets, you could be burned in the streets, you could be beheaded in the streets. There was a whole lot of stuff which was extremely inhumane for centuries throughout human's history. It's only been more in recent times that you can't do these things to people anymore. So I think there's a lot of things that makes us very civilized in a lot of ways.
But you gotta, Kirk, one thing though, sometimes when they talk about what happened back in medieval times, which And yeah, that's a time. But even when I'm talking about time, when we're talking about like Anunnaki, that's way beyond medieval time. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
mean, medieval times is still looking like we're looking at the Piscean Age as like from Jesus' time. That was the Piscean Age up until now. We're only starting to go into the age of Aquarius now, and it's just starting. It hasn't even begun yet. It's about to begin. So that whole the medieval time, what you want to call the Dark Ages, actually, this is still the Dark Ages. We're only about to go into the Golden Age now. So, like for the past um, for the past 1,000 years, 2,000 years, it's that's relative. That's not as long as you think. And people living longer now, back compared to it just in the Bible, like guys like Enoch and them, they were living 304 years to 1,000 years old. Methuselah, like way more than like our little petty 100 years. That's nothing. That's actually like a joke. That's not a long life, especially back then in the Bible time. Which I'm talking even before the Bible. You know what I mean? But in those times alone, they were living 4, 5, 6, 7, 800 years. We can't even we're bragging about 95, 104, 110. That's nothing. That's just to
But
me. That's not even something to really even like. That's just nothing to brag about.
right. But
To me, that's relatively elementary.
yeah, I mean,
To
and look, I do acknowledge that yes, they, back in the early Bible times, we're talking in the Hebrew scriptures, they last, but that only goes into maybe like I think like Exodus, maybe a little bit further. After that, life dropped down right back
yeah,
down
what
like
I show you?
extremely low again. So I'm just saying though is
That's my point.
for most of our human history, it's been very we did not live very long at all. Like it was the very first humans that the first few generations that supposedly lived for like hundreds of years. After that, it dropped down significantly. You know what I mean? So you
Now
know,
why? Now why is that? Because we lost our connection. We
well,
lost our
fine,
connection
fine,
to source,
but
to God. What you
but
call it.
also, but I'm just saying,
That's why we don't have a third eye anymore. We only use five senses.
fine,
So we've lost. We've gotten worse as a species.
okay, well, fine,
We haven't
but
got better.
here's my thing.
And the world is
If
showing
you
it.
if you look at the fact that basically, or going by what we believe and what a lot of other people believe, that that since humans were essentially created and deemed human by the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki, when they came here, this is all in the Sumerian text. They also came here with a slave species called the Ajiji, and after hundreds or thousands of years, when they came here, the Gigi were their slaves, and they did all the work. It's all talked about it, in those clay tablets. They finally rebelled against the Anunnaki because they were being treated. Well, they were slaves, and they were being treated as slaves, and they hated it. So even the concept of being a slave was started off by the Anunnaki, who are perfectly fine with it, perfectly dominating and being unfair to a whole other species. So they rebelled against them. They were not powerful enough to beat the Anunnaki. So the Anunnaki just basically wiped them out. And then that's why they needed more, and that's why they made humans. But the whole idea of even slavery is one of the worst ways to live because you basically have no rights. Like anything is tantamount to death. Just whatever, kill them. So what I'm saying is for most of human history of life, slavery has gone along for a long time. It's only just been in the past few hundred years that we finally mostly got rid of it. So I'm still saying that our level of civil rights and things like that is way better than most of all of our history going back. As far as goes, people being treated better. I don't see how that's even like in question.
I, a lot of times when you hear stories, it'd be like saying everything that's happened in the world is only happening in America. There's countries all around that aren't part of the media, that people are living fine, that actually didn't undergo all this war, and even back in the medieval times, other than like when we're talking about like the main countries which are the center of attention, all the stories would be, talking about or rather it's the Nordics, or the African tribes, or Jerusalem, you know what I mean, to England, you know what I mean, where you see that there's a pattern, but or a lot of our knowledge really was lost ever since even Alexandria, when the library was burned down. That literally set us back 1,000 years. So there's so much information that we're only getting just a small little bit. It's like trying to read the whole Bible, but it's only half-assed. Where you're getting a few books, and we think that that's the end all be all, and that's all the knowledge is. You know what I mean? When there's so much more knowledge that it's been lost. And the thing is, when I was saying or how with aliens being coming here, or how it would change a lot of people's belief system, I'm saying from a sinister side, like the reason why it's aliens and things don't even want to be talked about or hidden by governments or thing, but we can go back to the Vatican and it would change things and their beliefs. They have an understanding how they want what people to believe and how things were. If they let a lot of things out now, they know that would be a problem, and then they would have to change a lot of their story. You know what I mean? Which is always there's a lot of sinister things that go on. That's why so many things are hidden. You know what I mean? And it is not just going to be put out, out there just for the public to just I would love the government and just hey, this is what's really going on. Usually, that's not the case. If there's anything that's weird, whatever, you probably ain't ever gonna know about it until it's some whistleblower or something. You know what I mean? Where then they don't have any choice. But usually, right from the door, they're gonna try and cover it up to the fullest until eventually you can't cover it. It's already out. You know what I mean? And then they'll go into Plan B. All right, how are we gonna water this down and dilute it and kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's yeah. I always notice whenever there's some theory or whatever, my thing is, hey, I'm not saying believe every theory or this, but sometimes I do listen to the explanation that when I hear when the government's saying something, I'm like, wow. I'm saying hey guys, I understand if you don't want the public to know, and if you're gonna lie, there's actually a better way to lie about it. Sometimes it's you can't do better than that. I'll help you come up with something better. Sometimes I'm now actually I'm surprised the public's still gonna actually be okay with that statement, because I'm that's the wackest statement I could ever hear. If that's at least try to lie to people, at least come up with something good. Sometimes it's the statements you get is almost wow, I think these governments or whatever they're starting to lose their edge.
Yeah, well, hey, I mean, look, clearly, as when we talked about fluoride's the worst story that they ever gave us of why they put it in the water. So, hey, you know what? I guess the bottom line is we only know what we know. I'll tell you what, I would like for us to have, like you said, some type of supernatural, extraterrestrial event happen, just so we can kind of maybe see where it goes. Maybe it would help us open our eyes. Maybe it would be a peaceful event where we can really all, it would help everyone to move forward. I do agree with you though, with the same thing though is that at least as far as goes the Annuaki thing, just to give a little more storyline about that, is apparently that their planet is within our solar system, but it goes in and out in a elliptical, travel that it goes in. So it doesn't just spin around our planet; it goes kind of in and out of our known solar system. So I believe, I forget how long it is. It's something it takes 30,000 years, or I don't know, 3,000 years or 30,000 years, something like that, for it to go all the way out and come all the way back in. So it would make sense that basically, even if they, were here and they have all intentions to coming back, they're not like all powerful where they can just fly in from all the way out there. They have to wait for their planet to come back in relative, proximity to our planet. Then they can come do what they need to do, and then they have to get back on their planet before it leaves our solar system again. Which that would kind of make some sense why it's like, well, they were here thousands of years ago. Why did they have to leave? Or why aren't they not back yet? Well, it would make sense if that is the case, then because they are on their way back, but they need for it to go all the way back out and to come back in. And clearly, most of us will have been born and died before the next event even ever happens.
Yeah, like a long time ago.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, some theories also, like, a lot of your aliens, they say, or us, we're time travelers. You know what I mean? Coming back. So there's a lot of things, stargates, and all these. Like, it's not aliens and any conversation. It's not one thing. It's not just one entity. There's so much. I mean, there's just so many dimensions to look at it, and it just it's not. I mean, some beings aren't even like in a physical form. You got aliens that are just that are more energy beings, and it just goes so much deeper. And also, people also got to remember, aliens got other things too, man. They're not just like, oh, they did this here, why did it come back? Like, remember, they're not like our parents. They're not just gonna be sitting there hanging out all the time. They got other shit they're doing. Like, just like they came here for a reason to mine gold and whatever.
Right.
Then they left, and they're working on their planet and doing other things. Like, it isn't
True
like,
enough, yeah.
Oh, Earth is the only thing that's on their mind, and the only thing they want to do is prove to the humans that to let them know that we exist and this and that. Like they got a lot of other shit. It goes beyond just we have to show humans that we exist and that we're here.
Yeah, I get you.
They'll do it in their time, patience.
Right.
Right. If the patience is patience.
Yeah.
What is the rush?
Right. Well, I think
a bratty ass human planet.
Yeah. Well, exactly. You know what? I mean, bottom line is, it always comes down to, which is, once again, our ego is, we want everything to happen in our time, and if it doesn't, then it must not exist. If it doesn't happen in our time, it must not exist. But I mean, hey, look. So once again, well, I'm just gonna hope, because it would really, really be cool. Now, I almost kind of hope if it does happen, I'm pretty old by then. So if it is a hugest malicious takeover, I'll be dying soon anyway. So it'll be everyone else's problem.
If you reincarnate only a few years later, then you're coming back to the same
well, we'll see how that works out. You know what? Like I've got different ideas on reincarnation. Like I don't necessarily believe I may come back on this planet. I believe I can maybe go somewhere else or be something totally entirely different. So to me, I'm fine with whatever happens. We'll see. I mean, energy and whatever goes into different forms, and that part is a whole other story. So
so much to learn.
Yeah, exactly. So hey, I think we're getting pretty late here, so I'm probably just gonna stop it here though. But
yeah, you need to stop.
So anyway, hey, look, good talking to you. Most important thing is just to once again just kind of just keep remembering that regardless of what happens, it's more about what's going on in here and in our hearts and everything that really is going to, regardless, whatever happens, you can't change. We change our minds, and we're the ones that have our spirit and stuff, whatever. So whatever happens, it is what it is. It's all about what we do. So, that's it, man. I guess we'll talk to everyone later. Once again, we appreciate everyone's comments and stuff like that. So, keep them coming. We like to hear what other people are thinking and stuff. And I guess that's it, man.
Wait, I'm not done. One more thing.
Uh-oh.
Remember this. When present, you create your own reality. When not present, you become part of someone else's reality.
Boom. And we're going to leave it there. All right, take care, everybody. Peace
out.
Thanks for watching. Give us a like. We'll be replying to your comments in our next episodes. We post almost daily, so subscribe to keep up with the latest.